Oh. Hi, everybody. I didn't know we were here. We started. Hi, welcome to We started. Hi, welcome to Aggressive Progressive, everyone. Normally I get a countdown. 5, 4, and we didn't get that. It was just like,
We're on.
All right, so I have to, well, I don't know what we're doing. Okay, so just a couple of really funny things I want to get. Oh, I'm here with Steve-O. He's here today.
Hey, guys.
Isn't that great? Thanks for sitting in on your own show. Also,
hey, I've been here for a couple of weeks in a row
I
now.
know, this is amazing.
It's a record.
That's right.
Next to him is the miserable liberal, Stef Zamorano. Hi, Stef, how are you?
I'm miserable.
Okay, she's miserable. Now, you're a former teacher, Stef. You were a sophomore.
By the way, before you started, I just want to say something about Stef. You're not miserable. You're never miserable.
Right.
You're always in a good mood. You always brighten up any room that you're in. You're awesome. You have great positive energy. So your moniker, miserable liberal, that's got to be just some sort of ironic nickname, like calling a bald guy curly or
a fat guy skinny.
Yeah, slim.
Yeah.
Well, I am slightly broken inside.
Or when they call it big guy tiny.
You laugh so you don't cry.
Yeah.
I got it.
Come on.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through a couple of things real quick at the top of the show. Oh, let me just tell you, everybody this happened yesterday on Twitter. I just want to show this to everybody yesterday. This happened. I love the Jimmy Dore show. I'm working now, but maybe after the first of the year if I haven't been incarcerated. But she's going to come on the show. That's what she said.
Okay, I'm going to be on that show with you.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? Everybody wants to be on that show with Susan Sarandon.
She is.
We love Susan.
I love Susan Sarandon.
Are you kidding me? She's a dream come true.
I have loved her since I was 12 years old.
Yeah. Okay.
I saw her in Atlantic City, the movie Atlantic City with Burt Lancaster. You know my position on old movies, they're all terrible, but she was in it and I loved it.
Yeah. That's not an old movie.
It's an old movie too.
Black and white is an old movie, right? That's not a black and white
movie. Anything pre-1982 is old.
Oh, okay. All right, so Susan Sarandon, it's so weird to jag off from the south side of Chicago, have an Academy Award winning icon. You know, I mean, I remember seeing, well, now I'm blanking on the name of the movie, the baseball movie.
Bull Durham?
League of Their Own? Oh,
Bull Durham. I mean, that movie seemed to last a whole summer. It was like I saw it every day for some, you know what I mean? Anyway, so it's just amazing that she likes the show and she's gonna come on it. And, you know, she has a lot of courage, which a lot of people don't have. She has a lot of guts and she takes the lumps. And so she's good for her. God bless her. Thanks for coming on the show. All right, so what's coming up on today's show? Today we're gonna talk about war crimes. They just had an International War Crimes Tribunal just convicted someone of something called siege warfare, and we're going to talk about that and how it relates to the United States. We're also going to talk about socialism. Is the United States really for or against socialism? The answer just may surprise you, or will it? And then we're also going to talk about teachers. If you remember, they had their union taken away in Wisconsin in 2011. They took the teachers' union away. We're going to see how that worked out for Wisconsin. How did that work out? Was that a good idea? Did it make things better? Did they save money? All right, we're going to find out. Plus, if we have time, we're going to get to Garrison Keillor's defense of Al Franken. Okay. Okay.
Oh no, really?
Yeah. So that actually happened. Hey, how about the guy from the Today Show? What's his name?
Matt Lauer.
Matt Lauer. It's every day I wake up. Like, who had to quit today? Who had to quit? Today was Matt Lauer and Garrison Keillor. Matt Lauer, by the way, $25 million a year, which people don't realize. That's $500,000 a week. So he makes $500,000 a week, which is $100,000 a day.
How can you live on that? That's what I want to know.
He makes $100,000 a day, and in his contract.
I'm just glad that the newest tax bill will give him a cut.
He's going to get a cut.
He needs a break.
He does. He does need it. So he's his job creator. It'll trickle down. If you cut his taxes, he'll spend it. So he also in his contract has that NBC has to fly him in on a helicopter from the Hamptons 3 times a week. So that was in his contract. 2 times or 3 times, I'm not sure. I think it's 3 times a week. They had to fly him in from the Hamptons. And I just wonder if it's in his contract where he gets a helicopter ride to the unemployment office. That would be
well, I'll tell you this, he's gonna get a nice severance package.
Oh, yeah.
rich people who have done well.
That's what he used to call
They never get punished, right?
That's what he used to call his junk. You want to see my severance package?
Yeah. But guys like Roger Ailes, Bill O'Reilly, they all got nice severance packages.
Oh, $60 million, Roger Ailes, or some crazy number like that.
And now he's dead.
And now he died months later.
Yeah.
So all that money, I don't understand. What is it about? Why did Roger Ailes want all that money? You're just gonna die and have it in the bank. I don't know. What do you?
But you know what? I get it. Like if you're Roger Ailes, if you're Matt Lauer, if you're any of these guys, if you can get more money from the company that you work for, why not take it?
Yeah, I guess.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, why would Matt Lauer say MSNBC, you're too generous? I'll just take 20 million. It's plenty. I don't need 25. Give the 5 million where? They'll just keep it. So just take it. I wish he would do something better with it, and maybe he has. I have no idea how Matt Lauer spends his money. But the problem that I have is not.
He's not spending it on hair plugs.
And that's fine. I just don't like the rich and powerful using their wealth and their power to rig the game further in their favor. If they just make a lot of money, they enjoy it, and they spread it around, I don't care. I have no problems with that. But when they use it to buy politicians or change policy in their favor, that's when I have a problem with it. So I don't care about the rich people at all.
Nor I. Or when they try to game the system to get rid of the estate tax.
Now that bothers me.
There's only like 2,000 or 3,000 people in the whole country that the estate tax even affects.
Yeah.
That's how rich they are. You have the 2,000 or 3,000 richest people in the country.
Yeah, my feelings on the estate tax is pretty radical. I think they should get taxed at almost 100%.
I agree.
Yeah,
you shouldn't be able to inherit wealth.
You should give them a little bit, okay? So give them a cap, okay? So first 5 million or so, that's tax free. Everything about that, 100% tax, or graduate it up from 50% up to 100% at some point. But you can't leave behind intergenerational wealth that sets up your family as a dynasty for hundreds of years. And so, because if that's the rule, if those are the rules, then if I'm a rich guy, then I have a strong incentive to make that happen.
Right. And then we have an aristocracy in the United States, and we're not supposed to have that in the United States.
Jimmy, you were mentioning earlier this week about the idea that we could actually rid homelessness if people like Gates and Bezos got together.
I read, I don't know how accurate this is, but I did read this in an article recently, but I can't tell you the source, so just for the sake of argument, I read that it would cost $20 billion a year, $20 billion to rid homelessness in the United States. 20 billion, that's a lot. 20 billion, we just spent an extra $80 billion a year on bombs nobody wanted, so we could have eradicated homelessness 4 times over with just that. But my thing is, so guys like Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, Mark Zuckerberg, I never know if to stop at Zucker or Zuckerberg, I never know. And then
so Jeff Zucker runs CNN,
and Mark Zuckerberg runs Facebook. I can't. So those guys are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Jeff Bezos over $100 million, billion. I'm sorry, billion dollars now. So why wouldn't they? If those 4 guys, Bezos, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and one other, Mark Zuckerberg, they all pitched in $5 billion each, which they wouldn't even notice.
I'm sure it could be a write-off.
They can end homelessness like that. Why don't they do that? You know what I mean? Like if I had $100 billion and I can end homelessness in the country, I would just do it like that. Why don't you just do it? Like that's the thing I don't understand. What are you hanging on to the $100 billion for, Jeff? What are you waiting for? And they'll probably go build a museum to himself that costs $50 billion, and then he'll build, you know what I mean? He'll build some other thing offshore that nobody ever really gets. And for all the money Bill Gates has, again, he's trying to privatize education. That's his big idea. And I know he's helping people in Africa and things like that. I'm not 100% familiar with what the Gates Foundation does. I know they do charity. I also know that they're about bringing the corporate ideals to charity, which is not a good idea. So does he ever think? Because that's the thing, when I get out of my house, and everybody has their own thing. Like some people are for animal rights, some people are for the environment, some people help AIDS people. But homelessness, you can't, that's all behind closed doors. I don't see someone who's sick behind. You walk out of your house, there they are. How do people? That's what we do as a society. We just there's.
I don't think those really rich people ever have issues with homelessness because they don't really come in contact with it.
Right.
I mean, if you are taking a helicopter from the Hamptons to the helipad at
Rockefeller Center.
You're not going to encounter a lot of homeless people who bother you. So they're invisible to you. You are kind of ensconced in this little world where the problems of ordinary people just don't impact you in any way whatsoever. So, and look, to be perfectly honest, I actually don't really care how they spend their money. You got $100 billion. Yes, it would be nice if you spend it more wisely, but I don't purport to know what the best ways are. So he doesn't give it to homelessness, he gives it to something else, whatever, that's up to him. Again, I have a problem with them using their money and power to perpetuate their wealth and power and to keep others down. Like, that's where I have the big problem with it. But if they want to spend it on baked goods or charity or travel, I don't care what they spend it on.
So Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, who owns Amazon.com, which 1 out of every 2 transactions on the internet go through Amazon.com in the United States. 50% of all purchases go through Amazon in the United States. He would rather put an ambulance outside a fulfillment center than air condition it. So instead of air conditioning it, it would save them money to just put an ambulance outside and rush the people who pass out to the emergency room. So that's what Jeff Bezos does with his money.
Yeah. Well,
so that's what you're talking about.
Right.
That's what you say that's disgusting.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, not paying people a living wage, keeping them suppressed and oppressed. And
it's not like he doesn't have the money to provide the right working conditions for the people that he's working for.
Frankly, if you don't have the money for it, then you shouldn't be in that business.
Exactly.
Right? If you have to exploit people and basically break them down, then that's not a business that we should be sustaining. You should be out of business. Like, go do something else.
I have people on Facebook say to me, oh, they're going to raise the minimum wage. I'm going to go out of business. This isn't right for small businesses. And I said, why do you get to make a living wage and the people who generate your living wage, your workers, don't get to have a living wage themselves? If you can't pay a living wage while you have one yourself, you should close your business. Because that's just exploitation. Somebody else doesn't get to have a living wage, but you do. Why? So
I totally agree, and I shed no tears for you if you have to close your shop because you can't pay people a living wage. Now they would argue, well, now my workers have no job at all.
Right, that's what they would argue.
That's what they would argue. But we know that's not the case because Seattle and other places where they did raise minimum wage had a net positive impact on the economy, and it was an overall good for society.
Yes, because working people put their money right back into the economy.
Yes, workers spend the money. When you give a tax break to millionaires, they don't spend it.
So I'm so frustrated by this tax bill because it is, as Cenk put it, one of the greatest robberies in our history.
Right.
They're just taking money from the working class and the poor and just funneling it straight to the top 1%. And no one ever says how you're going to pay for it. And when someone does ask that question, the very automatic answer that you always hear is, well, it'll stimulate the economy.
Growth. The growth will pay for it. We'll grow our way out of it.
The growth will pay for it, right? Well, that could be the answer for everything else. How are you going to pay for the free colleges that Bernie wants to give?
We'll grow our way out of it.
Well, we're going to have all these smart people that are well educated. They're going to grow the economy. We'll pay for it, right?
Yeah.
Well, how are you going to pay for all this medical care for children and poor people? Well, they're healthier, so they can work more, and they'll generate more growth. They will grow the economy. So that rationale can be used for almost anything that you do. So really what we're doing is picking and choosing what we want to fund, what we want to cut. And those choices are made not by the people, it's made by the donor class. And that's the most frustrating thing of all.
Correct.
Well, ultimately, it takes, I mean, like if
a village, it takes a village.
Right, it takes a village. But what we see here is that people are working longer hours, people are the working poor, working 2 jobs, people don't have access to college. So what you're doing is you're just crippling a class of people who will be too tired to be a part of the revolution and fight back.
That's right. But you know what, look, obviously I blamed the donor class and the billionaires who really run the show. But I also blame all of us, and me included, but all of us, because we live in a society with the mentality that, someday we will be rich. We live in a lottery mentality world. We're gonna strike it rich, so we wanna make sure that we have those. It's a fantasy world that we live in, right? And we're so slavish to celebrities and famous people. And I mean, look at the Trump voters, for example, right? They voted for him largely because, well, many of them are racist and sexist, but the other ones voted for him because they thought he was a fancy, smart celebrity who made a ton of money. And in our society, we deeply value people who made a ton of money. Oh, they must be smart, they must be good, they have a lot of money, they're successful, and he got those votes. And everything in our system is geared towards rewarding the richest, most famous people, and we never look beyond that. And we're all kind of part of it, right? I mean, we are a materialistic society. Our economy is based on spending. It's not based on anything else. It's all consumer driven, and we have all the corporations that kind of run the show. They're all based on quarterly profits. So who cares about the future? Make sure we hit the earnings calls this quarter so I can get my bonuses. And that's just the way our society is structured. So it's deeply problematic. I mean, there are no really easy answers. There's a lot of tough questions though.
I have a couple of answers coming up in the show.
Oh,
I can't wait, Jimmy.
I have a couple answers coming up. I actually do have, of course, we all know the big answer is to get money out of politics.
That's number one.
That's number one.
That's number one. If you don't do that, then nothing matters.
Right. And then number two is coming up in the second segment of today's show.
Oh.
And the answer just may surprise you, or will it? So before we get to our second segment, let's finish our first one. We have some random shit that I want to get through before we get to it. So randomly, I saw this was tweeted out by a New York Times writer. Her name is Maggie Haberman, and this is the rehabilitation of the George W. Bush because we hate Trump so much. After 9/11, George W. Bush urged tolerance. Today, President of the United States antagonized an entire religion. And then this is the first response to that underneath. Is this a joke? That was the first response underneath. And so here's Jeremy Scahill. He took that tweet and he said, more like feigned tolerance, and then proceeded to launch multiple wars that killed hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians, tortured people, and inspired terrorism. Other than that, you're correct.
Jeremy Scahill is so awesome.
Yes.
That guy is right on almost every single thing I've ever seen or heard him talk about. Yeah, he's fantastic.
We mourn the passing of Peter Douche, which was the parody account on Twitter, which made fun of Peter Dow. And now here is Peter Dow. Now you know why we needed Peter Douche. Here's Peter Dow. This is from today. This bears repeating until it is an accepted fact. The vicious and unjust vilification of Hillary Clinton is a microcosm of how women are disrespected by males. As long as her continued demonization is tolerated, the message to right, left, and media is that it's okay to do it. So I love that. First of all, he goes, this bears repeating until it's an accepted, meaning I'm just going to keep browbeating you for fucking ever. Forever. I'm never, this election is never stopping. It's now almost December. Okay, it's almost December. The election was almost 12 months ago. All right, so 13 months ago. So here's my friend Amir, who I follow. He cut to the quick. He said, calling valid criticisms of a center-right Wall Street warmonger sexism is an insult to every woman in America, especially victims of sexual assault, especially coming from the same folks who spent the past 2 years attacking and insulting and vilifying every woman disagreeing with them, including Jill Stein.
And Susan Sarandon.
So if it's on your team, it's okay. But if it's against your team, that is sexism. Then you guys are sex. What? But if you're unfairly criticizing Jill Stein and Susan Sarandon, that's just above board shit you're supposed to do, right? Okay, give you the double C kick. So here's something else I thought right before I came in. This is horrible. Look at this. So this person said, I found the worst thing in the world, and it's a security camera marketed to kids by using an ELF. The ELF surveillance dummy security camera. And if you look closely, it says, Elfie reports bad behavior to Santa. There it is. Elfie reports bad. And then it says, hey, I'm watching you. What the fuck?
It's to totally normalize
what? Surveillance.
Big Brother.
Totally. Since your little Santa's still doing surveillance, it must be okay.
You know what was really funny, Jimmy, that you bring this up? Because I was having this thought that in some future world, we're gonna have a conversation that goes like this, where a father, or in my case, or a mom says to their child, there used to be a time when you would do something and no one would know that. No one would know that you did it. And the kid's like, what? There wasn't anyone watching? It was not, and you can't, what? That's crazy. You just do whatever you want and no one knows about it, yes, no one would know. Like I'm serious though.
I know.
That's literally gonna go away. I know in London, there is not a single place in London that isn't.
There isn't a camera?
There isn't a camera on that spot. So, expand that out very quickly. I mean, why not? If London, why not everywhere else in the world, right? Those cameras are super cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just put them up everywhere.
Yeah.
And then you normalize that kind of behavior and you indoctrinate the children to think that that's totally fine. And it's gonna come to a point where they're gonna actually accept it. And
you're comfortable in a surveillance state.
Yeah. And it's it's given to you as a form of security. Something happens here.
Yeah, it's for your own good.
It's for your own good.
It's all for your own good.
You need it. If you don't have it, then anything can happen to you. Oh my God, and we would have no evidence it's going to happen to you, and you're in deep danger. You got to be surveilled.
It's like the Soma in Brave New. Ever read that book Brave New World by Aldous Huxley? You ever read it? Yeah. So they would take Soma. So that's what this is. You just get normalized. Yeah, it's all for your own good, right, Tim? You read that book, right? Okay.
Tim is he's a very literary man. He's read a lot of stuff.
He's very literate. So I'm going to play this. Do you remember, right before we go to a break, I want to remind people of this moment recently. Okay, here we go.
What I've seen on NYU's campus and what I've seen in polls all over, in CNN even, a Harvard University poll last May showed that people between the ages of 18 and 29, not just Democrats, not just leftists, 51% of people between 18 and 29 no longer support the system of capitalism. And that's not me asking you to make a radical statement about capitalism, but I'm just telling you that my experience is that the younger generation is moving left on economic issues. And I've been so excited to see how Democrats have moved left on social issues. As a gay man, I've been very proud to see you fighting for our rights and for many Democratic leaders fighting for our rights. But I wonder if there's anywhere you feel that the Democrats could move farther left to a more populist message, the way the alt-right has sort of captured this.
All right, so do you know what her answer is? If you don't, we're gonna have it for you when we come back, plus all those other stories I told you about in just 1 minute.
December 4th.
Oh wait, December 4th is our next live show. We have a special guest. Cenk Uygur is our special guest at our live show. That's this Monday in Burbank, California. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for tickets. We'll see you Monday. Be back in a minute.